Hello students, welcome to the session 1 of class 9 biology chapter 1, the fundamental unit of life. Hope all of you are doing great and staying healthy and happy. So let's start with the name of your chapter, the fundamental unit of life. Do you know what is it? The fundamental unit of life is cell. But here a question arises, why? As we all know, all the organisms are made up of cells and a cell is capable to perform all the functions which are necessary for its survival. That's why cell is known as the structural and functional unit of life. Let's discuss some of the discoveries related to the cell. The cell was discovered and named by Robert Hooke in 1665 in Koch's lice with the help of primitive microscope. He saw that the cork resembled the structure of a honeycomb consisting of many little compartments. He remarked that it looked similar to small rooms in which monks lived, thus cell deriving its name. This was the very first time that someone had observed that living things has a separate unit called cell. After the discovery of cell, it was followed by several other important discoveries like in 1874, Anton von Leeuwenhoek discovered the free living cells in pond water with the help of improved microscope. After that, nucleus was discovered by Robert Brown in 1831. After that, Purkinje coined the term protoplasm for the fluid substances of the cell. You might have learned about cytoplasm in your previous classes. Then what about protoplasm? Look students, proto means living and plasm means fluid. So we can say the living fluid present inside the cell is known as the protoplasm. Then what about cytoplasm? Cytoplasm is what? The living content present between nucleus of the cell and the plasma membrane. So we can say protoplasm is the whole content of the cell, whether cytoplasm is the content present between the nucleus and the plasma membrane, or we can say cytoplasm along with the nucleus is known as the protoplasm. Okay. After this, two scientists came forward and they gave the cell theory. This theory states that all the plants and living animals are composed of cells and the cell is the basic unit of life. This statement was presented by two biologists, Sheldon and Shawn. The next statement was given by Rudolf Virchow, which suggests that all cells arise from pre-existing cells, or we can say all the new cells arise from the old ones by the process of cell division. On the basis of how many cell an organism can consist of, we have classified two categories, and these are unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. What are unicellular organisms? These are the organisms which are made up of single cell, or we can say single celled organisms. And we have examples like amoeba, paramecium and all the bacteria. Next category that we have is multicellular organism. These are the organisms which contain more than one cell, and the examples are fungi, plants and animals. Now look at this beautiful diagram which shows you the different type of cells present in the human body. So the shape and size of cell are different according to the kind of functions they perform. Like nerve cell is elongated because its function is to transmit impulse from one organ to the other. Okay. Fat cell is circular in shape because it stores fats. So we can say the shape and size of cell is different according to the function they perform. Next topic that we have is division of labor. Let's discuss. It means different tasks performed by different system. If we observe our body, we have different organs to perform different functions like heart to pump blood, a stomach to digest food, lungs to breathe, and many more. Similarly, division of labor is also seen within a single cell. Each cell has certain specific components inside it which are known as cell organelles. And each kind of cell organelle perform a special function such as making new material in the cell, clearing up the waste material from the cell, and so on. That's why a cell is able to live and perform all its function because of these organelles. So, we can find these three basic features in each type of cell. First is plasma membrane, which is the outermost covering of the cell. Cytoplasm, which is the fluid contained inside the plasma membrane. And the third and most important thing, which is nucleus, which control all the functions of the cell. So, these are the three basic features which we can find in each type of cell, whether the organism is made up of single cell or whether the organism is multicellular. So let's discuss each of them in detail. First, we will discuss about the plasma membrane. What is it? This is the outermost covering of the cell. As this is the outermost covering of the cell, so it separates the content of the cell from the external environment. Are you getting it? And it is also known as the cell membrane. So don't get confused. Cell membrane and plasma membrane are synonyms. Okay. So what is the function of the plasma membrane? First, because this is the outermost covering, it prevents movement of materials. Okay. It allows or permits the entry and exit of some materials in and out of the cell. Second thing, it prevents movement of some other materials. That means only some of the particles can pass through the plasma membrane. That's why it is known as the selectively permeable membrane. Are you getting it? And as it is made up of lipid and protein, that's why it is very flexible in nature. Okay, now we will discuss two important processes involved by plasma membrane. Okay, first is diffusion and the next is osmosis. What is diffusion? We can say this is the movement of a substance from a region of higher concentration to the region of low concentration. Are you getting it? What is it? The movement of substance. You need to focus on this statement, from higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. So, the movement of particles from high concentration to the region of low concentration is called diffusion. And what is osmosis? This is the special case of diffusion in which the movement of water molecules take place from a higher concentrated region to the lower concentrated region through a selectively permeable membrane. Are you getting it? What is the difference between these two? Osmosis is the special case of diffusion in which a selectively permeable membrane is required. Okay, so let's discuss each of them in detail. What we have discussed, diffusion is what? The movement of molecules from the region of high concentration to the region of lower concentration of molecules. If we will talk about examples, then perfume, incense sticks, helium balloons, soda and cold drinks, tea bags and air pollutions are the daily life examples. And if we will talk about living body, then exchange of gases like CO2 and O2 take place inside our body by the process of diffusion. Now look at this picture. Here you can see inside the cylinder, here the reason, this is the reason of high concentration of molecules, or we can say here the number of molecules are in high amount comparatively to the atmosphere. Okay, so what we have discussed, diffusion is what? The movement of molecules from its higher concentration to the lower concentration. Okay, and it will continue until the concentration gradient has been eliminated. That means until the concentration of both the system become equal. Okay, so this is the example of diffusion. One more example we will discuss, and that is diffusion in perfume. Here you can see when we release the nozzle of the perfume bottle, what will happen? The molecules of perfume is scattered from its higher concentrated region to the lower concentrated region. So this is the example of diffusion. If we will talk about living body, exchange of gases take place inside the living body, and how it will take place? As you know, cell is capable to perform all the function by itself. That's why as a waste, CO2 accumulated in high concentration inside the cell. So in the cell external environment, the concentration of CO2 becomes low compared to the inside cell. As soon as there is a difference of concentration of CO2 inside and outside of a cell, CO2 moves out of the cell. Similarly, O2 enters the cell by the process of diffusion when the level of concentration of O2 inside the cell decreases. Okay, here you can see this is the picture of alveoli. Alveoli is what? It is the balloon-like structure present inside our lungs. So here when we inhale oxygen filled inside the alveoli, and you can see here the concentration of oxygen become high comparatively to the blood vessels. So what will happen? The movement of oxygen take place from alveoli to the blood capillary, or we can say from higher concentrated region to the lower concentrated region. Okay, so these are the example of diffusion. Now we will discuss about osmosis. What is osmosis? This is the movement of water molecules from its higher concentrated region to the lower concentrated region through a selectively permeable membrane. Students, you need to remember this term, selectively permeable membrane, in case of osmosis. What is it? Selectively permeable membrane is the membrane which allows only some of the particles, not all, only some of the particles. Now look here at the picture. Okay, this small blue circle represents the molecule of water, while the green color represents the molecule of sugar. Now, the movement of water across the membrane is highly affected by the amount of substance dissolved in water. So, if we add water in water, sugar in water, the medium becomes concentrated. That means the medium has high sugar concentration and low water concentration. But if we will talk about the pure water, then here, because sugar is not added here, so here the concentration of sugar is very low or negligible, and water concentration is very high. And what we have discussed, osmosis is what? The movement of water molecules from its higher concentration to the lower concentration. So movement of water take place from pure water to the solution. Okay, so this is the process of osmosis, in which movement of water molecule take place from its higher region to the lower region through a selectively permeable membrane. Now we will discuss the application of osmosis inside an animal cell. Okay, now look here. What will happen when an animal cell plays in different type of solution? Look here, we have three types of solutions here: hypotonic solution, isotonic solution, and hypertonic solution. Whenever you will read these terms, what you will understand, hypo means less, okay? So that means this is the less concentrated solution. Isotonic means, iso means equal. So that means here the solution of the outer surrounding as well as inside the cell both are same. Hyper means very high. So that means the solution is highly concentrated. That means here solute is in high concentration and water is in low concentration. Are you getting it? So what will happen in the case when we place a cell inside the hypotonic solution? As we have discussed, hypotonic is what? Where the concentration of solute is less, low concentration of solute, and water concentration is high comparatively to the cell. So what we have discussed, osmosis take place from its higher region to the lower region. So water, what will happen in this case? Water moves inside the cell, and this process is known as the endoosmosis. Endo means inside. Okay, so if osmosis take inside the cell, then it is known as the endoosmosis. So water moves inside the cell, and what will happen? Cell swells and ultimately it rupture. Okay, what will happen in the case of isotonic solution? If we place an animal cell inside the isotonic solution, no change take place because this medium has exactly the same water concentration as the cell. There will be no net movement of water across the cell membrane, and this type of solution is known as the isotonic solution. Okay. Now last we have is hypertonic solution. So in this medium we have lower concentration of water molecule than the cell. So what will happen in this case? Here the water concentration is low, and here the water concentration is high, and here in the solution it is low. So what will happen? Water releases out from the cell, and what will happen if water releases out from the cell? Cell shrinks. Are you getting it? So this is the conclusion. If we will put an animal cell inside the hypertonic solution, cell will take water and it swells. If we place an animal cell inside the isotonic solution, no change take place. And if we will put an animal cell inside the hypertonic solution, water releases out from the cell, and this process is known as the exoosmosis. Exo means outside the cell. Okay, that means if osmosis take place outside the cell, it is known as the exoosmosis. And what will happen in this case? Cell shrinks. Okay. Now in the next session we will discuss about the cell wall, and then after that we will discuss what will happen when we place a plant cell inside these three different type of solution. Till then, thank you.